Christian, Jaron, Max, and Ryan, get ready. Episode 21 is just for you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Land Golf Academy, thank you once again for joining us on episode 21 of the Reddit Golf Swing Analysis Series. Keep in mind, if you don't have to follow Reddit to submit these, you can go ahead and submit them if you're just an occasional viewer and watch, and you wish me to take a look at some cause and effect. And this is what this video is about. It's not necessarily swing advice, it's basically cause and effect, just to give the students a better understanding of things that is occurring in their motion so they can go back and try it on their own. But it is suggested that they do work with a PGA professional where he or her can really work with them as a team and establish goals and help you reach them quicker. Also keep in mind, I'm not sure of these range of motions for any of these students. I'm not sure of their history, any injuries, what they submit to me. There might include some notes, and that's helpful. If there's no notes, I'm just going based on assuming they can get in these positions. So you can see how there can be a little misinterpretation sometimes. So just be careful with that when you work on your swing too. Other than that, if you like this, hit that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, and thank you for being a part of this channel and also supporting the community. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll do many more of these in the future. But let's get started right away. Who do we have on deck? We have, let's take a look. We have Max. All right, Max. So I spoke to Max via instant messaging, and from what I remember, forgive me if I forget some of this stuff, Max, but you seem to have some issues with flipping, and you're working on increasing your lag. So let's just take a look at what's causing this. Let's take a look at this swing here. Okay, so from down the line, got a really good motion there, Max. Okay, let's look at the down the line, because maybe the face on will tell us a little bit more than down the line will. But let's just draw some plane lines here, spine angle line, head brace line, and also back brace line, just to help us out. Our standard lines here at the Academy. First of all, let me guess where you're from. Man, that looks cold outside. No wonder you're in a hoodie. Michigan. Just going to throw it out there. Let me know if that's right. Take that clubbing back. You can see how the club is going right through the lower plane line. It's matching up in a nice little circle here. I can draw a circle over that, so you're truly connected. You're doing a good job. Shoulders at this point might be a little bit flattening out, but we'll see at the top of your swing. But other than that, it looks pretty solid. Get to the top here. They're a tiny bit flat. So you can see they've lost a little bit of their angle here. So you want that to be close to 90 degrees to your spine angle, your start spine angle, but it's pretty close. I mean, that could be causing some issues, but not anything out of the ordinary. As you take that club back, you get to the top plane line really nicely. Club face is slightly closed to that left forearm, so far it looks pretty textbook. As you drop it down in the slot, you're really going down to get it. Now let's see if you jump back up to steal that ground force. No real jumping up. You're really pulling away from that ball, which is really good, but it does have some negatives here. As your body is pulling so far away, your spacing might become an issue, and you might start hitting off the toe unless your arms kind of raise up to help you out. But that's just what I see from down the line. And you can see that lower release because the whole body's moving left. You flick it right through, which is fine, and then you come on back up. Look at that right arm, it meets that plane line again, and the club is a little bit flat to that plane, to your spine angle here when you come through. But other than that, it's pretty textbook. I would say just from this side of the view, you're pulling away and pulling your body away from the golf ball so much it's a good thing. Let me put it that way. Not many people do this. You're probably one of the rare people that can do this. But just keep in mind what it can cause. And the shaft does some funny things in the golf swing. So, shaft flutter, the shaft, flutters down. It's called shaft droop. It moves left and right. So you might be accommodating some shaft droopness that we're not aware of. I'm not sure if you have been tested for your equipment. But the way to find the droop of your shaft is if you take a look. So I just happen to have a wedge in my office. So let me see if I can pull it back a little bit. So basically, when you are holding the club, if you let go of the club, you'll see it kind of droops back this way, because what it's trying to do, your club is trying to find the center. So, all clubs usually pull back because of the weighting of the sole. And what that does is now your club, as it goes down into impact, is going to droop down to find the center of its kinetic energy. So as you're turning, it's trying to find the center. So typically we droop down. So you could be, started out with very whippy clubs and you had a lot of droop and you developed that motion. So, clubs really play a part in this, specifically if you have such a great move like you do. So let me know if you got tested for clubs. If you did and they worked, that's great. So maybe it's not that issue, but I'm always a cause and effect guy. So I wonder where that grew into it. So let's look at the front because that might help us out. All right, Max, so here's your front. Okay, so pretty good setup so far. Shoulders, spine, hands go through the spine slightly. Well, at least the ball's connected to the spine. The hands are slightly forward pressed, which is okay. Right side. Gonna put that brace line. We put a little head brace line. We're assuming that this is gonna get really low at impact, and also, the width of your feet. So, shoulder width. So you have to think about, is it the inside of your feet that's shoulder width or the outside of your feet? So it looks like you are kind of outside of your foot is shoulder width. That's fine. But I like to see a little bit wider just to give you some more stability, specifically because you don't have a problem turning. So that might help you kind of control that turn. But let's take a look at the full swing here. Okay, again, pretty good here. So you can see just turning around that spine, you have a beautiful connection with your upper body in terms of that hand relationship with your chest. I would like to see it stop there. I mean, you don't need all this extra motion because now you're kind of disconnected from your power source slightly, because you see you're turning. Here's where your kind of body stops turning. So that's basically all you need for your arms to do, is just stay right there. They'll be wider, they'll be further away from you, plus they're shorter in position, so there's less that you have to do going down. This little extra motion here, you can see you turn more, but I think it's just you're turning more because that club is pulling you back to turn more. But that's just what I would like to see. As you come down into impact, let's put an impact brace line to see what happens with your lower body. So as you come down into it, it's a little bit of spinny going on. So upper body's doing trying to do its job to come left, but because the lower body gets, look at that right foot. The right foot's really kind of spinning and not much drive. So lack of drive, your upper body's kind of stuck in that position here, and now your hands kind of have to get going to make up for that lack of drive. So if you can get your hands to keep up with your body while you lean into the shot, that might help you with that lag, at least holding on to your lag. So be careful with lag, because lag can destroy a lot of swings. People that search for lag start breaking their arm positions to get more lag, and that's actually detrimental to the motions. But the way I look at your swing is you do a really good job of staying connected. Just don't go so far back, because now if you truly turn, you have to kind of throw your hands back out in front, and that throwing the hand action could also result in you kind of flipping a little bit too early, which may be causing you to hang back to time that flip. So a couple things here. Stick with your motions. Your motions are really good. They're solid. There's nothing wrong with your motions. I'd say your sequencing is off just because maybe it's too much motion. So as your shoulders stop, just let your arm stop. From there, just basically get to your left side a little bit quicker and just turn like you do. Still stay aggressive like you are. And you can see as you follow through, you're kind of stuck on that back side here instead of already being on that left impact line. And as you finish, you can see your weighting is stuck on the back. So you do a really good job of staying in your spine angle. However, there's just not a lot of lag left, not a lot of shifting left. So that shift left, less arm motion, and just still turn hard. And I'm sure you're going to start to see a lot of improvements in your ball contact. So let me know if that helps, and best of luck to you. Let's see who's next. Next up we have Christian. Now Christian, this is a update video. So Christian, I believe I forgot what episode he was on. It's one of the earlier episodes. I want to say 6, 7, or 8. So he sent me this updated video just so I can keep an eye on things and then help him out a little bit more. So let's take a look at his motion. Okay, so definitely an improvement here. Just be careful. Already right off the bat, I see that ball position is going to play a little bit of issue with you, because you're trying to stay in your posture, but you have to do a lot of catching up for that ball position. So, try not to forget, people that are watching this, grip, alignment, ball position, posture is your best friend. If you don't pay attention to any of these, that's when things get a little bit sour, and before you know it, you're making some compensations to make up for things that should have already been started from the beginning. It's much akin to, let's say I'm going archery and I'm sitting there with my bow and arrow. I'm trying to hit a target right in front of me, but I'm aiming 5 feet left. So at some point I have to turn back and release. And now all of a sudden I'm so busy turning back and releasing, I'm forgetting just to go through my motions. So keep that in mind. Ball position from this camera angle. I'm assuming this camera angle straight on. It looks a little bit to your kind of this view, kind of pointing this direction. But even so, you can see that ball position is a little bit too far back. So if I draw this line up, it's clear on your right side of your head, and that's going to give you that forward press issue that I'm not a big fan of. So you're kind of disconnecting already. So just bring that ball position more in the center, connect it with your spine. That should help you out, and it plays a big part. So let me do this. I'm going to leave where your ball position should be, and we'll take a look at your impact position. So taking it back, as you come back down into impact, your body is kind of stuck on that right side because it needs to stay there to get to that golf ball. So we're kind of hanging back a little bit too, just kind of like Max in the last video. And your hands now, they're parallel to the ground, right, with the club shaft, and it's pretty good when all things considered, but they only have this much of motion to hit that golf ball. When the golf ball should have been there, you should be moving left and holding onto that angle a little bit more. So if you moved left and held onto the angle a little bit more, there goes your increase of angle, but it's already starting to release to get to that golf ball. So before impact, you've lost all of your connection. You can see your hands are still kind of stuck behind you. That's because they're out in front. They're connected to your shoulders instead of being connected to your chest. So that's where that forward press comes into some issues. And then as you strike up the next couple of frames, you're actually hitting it on the way up. You can see your angle's kind of broken, and you're actually hitting on the way up. Now, keep in mind, look at where the ball position is now. That's where it should be at impact. Now, you can see you've delayed. If we take away how many frames? 1, 2, 3 frames before you hit the golf ball. If we can move those 3 frames post golf ball, now you're hitting it on the way down. Your contact's going to be better. You can see your positions are there. You're opening up. You're trying to fire at it. You're trying to move, but you're stuck on the right side because that ball position's keeping you on the right side. And as a result, you kind of disconnected. You can see your lower body's doing one thing and your upper body's just trying to say, hey, I've only got 3 or 4 frames to hit this golf ball. I better get going before I miss the ball. So you can really see how that plays its role. Past release, look how much you're stuck behind the ball still because that ball position was back over here. Remember, this is where it should be. Your ball position was over here. So you're still kind of stuck back there. And then you release. Now you come on through and your weight's trying to get to the left side naturally, but that's more momentum kind of taking you that direction. So good work with the body. Check that ball position. Never get it on the right side of center for righties. You never want to creep it back there unless you're purposely trying to hit a low shot, maybe movement, maybe move it right or left, whatever you're trying to do. But if you're trying to play a normal shot, it should always be in the center, maybe even slightly forward, so it'll promote you to hold that lag and just turn. So let's take a look at from down the line to see how that's going. Okay, Christian, let's take a look down the line now. Now we're gonna assume that ball position's still on the right side, and you can kind of see them, and you can see the shadow of your club. It's definitely favoring that right side. And let's take a look at what happens as a result of that ball position. Okay, that's probably going to change as we move into it here. No, it's good. Okay. So head height. Get that secondary plane line. So you have a pretty good plane line here. I'm going to look at your overall motion and see what's going on with the footwork. Okay, so you're just definitely some improvement. Let's take a look at that back brace line. So you're moving behind the brace line, and then you're slightly crashing. Okay, it's better. But you can still see as you come down into it, that ball position's behind you. It's on that right side. It's like, wait a minute, I gotta get going. Let me flip it, and you can see it's kind of like a scooping action. So the setup changes are better. I definitely see you aligning a lot better. Thank you, you got an alignment rod down there, that's great. But in terms of your motions, That club is riding up that shaft line, which is pretty good, kind of opening up a little disconnection. That also, again, could be that ball position being so far behind you that you have to kind of feel like you can reconnect somehow. But at the top of your swing, you can see your head's kind of moving into the golf ball. And that could be just a counteraction to keep you balanced. So if your arm's going away and up, it pulls you in, just to counteract so you don't fall over. And then on the way down, you can see your left arm is pretty flat in terms of where it should have been. And on the way down, a flat left arm, and you try to drop in the slot, you can see the club is on plane, but then it dips below the plane because now you have to get your hands involved and flip. And when you're flipping, you need some spacing to flip, especially when that ball position is in the far back. So the spacing is requiring you to stand up and get out the way so your hands can scoop and flip under. And as a result, you're still crashing into the golf ball. You're trying to stay in your posture. You do a fairly good job. You can see it's still kind of leaning that way, but your momentum's kind of pushing to your toes at impact. You can see that left heel coming off the ground, and there it comes off the ground, and you just kind of muscle that ball through, and then you get your weight kind of back where it should have been. So I see it changing, for the better, but definitely that ball position is still prohibiting you from getting to your peak that you can get to. So triple check, quadruple check that ball position. Make it easy. Start with your feet together and take what seems to you like a smaller step left and a bigger step right, because you have to fool yourself. And I prefer to have you practice with a forward ball position just to get the complete opposite, to start working on some motion. So give that a try. Let me know how it goes. And I believe I guessed last time Southern California. I'm still staying with Southern California because I recognize that range from the last video. So hopefully it's not a different range, or else I have to go check my medications. But let's see who's next. All right, here we have Jaron. So Jaron, when you sent me your email, it came over as like 10 attachments. So I could find the videos, but I couldn't find any notes. So I apologize if you put notes on there, but I can't find them. So I'm just going to assume this is just a pure evaluation on cause and effect. And let's take a look at your motion to see what's going on here. Okay. Okay, swinging down as you strike that golf ball. Your spin rate's probably pretty high, if I were to guess. Okay, so you're definitely a strong person. I mean, you can't really get in that position unless you have a lot of strength right in that position there. So a lot of potential. I would imagine you suffer the occasional snap hook, low snap hooks, maybe some blocks every now and then. If I'm just taking a guess here, I want you to take a look at your lower body and see how that's kind of working against you. So if we draw that right brace line, I'm going to draw an impact line here, and let's check your ball position based on your spine tilt. So it's pretty close. You can see how, and you'll see this too, when you first start this motion, you kind of had this premature forward press there. And now what you've done is you've kind of connected this club to that lead arm, and this is the problems that you'll start to see when you do that. So typically with people that connect that club to the lead arm, they have to either hold off or release, or really get that right shoulder to tilt under while they push their shoulders through to help those hands stay on the path, so without a release. So you can kind of see it impact. We'll go straight to impact, and we'll draw the shoulder tilt line. So there's your starting shoulder tilt, and as you get down into impact, we can see as you get down in there, I mean, look at that tilt. Now your hands are out in front because of the tilting has pushed them out in front, and you're still connected to that triangle here. Sorry about all these lines, but let me clear some of this up. So just to show you how that occurred. Now, you can get away with it. There's plenty of people on tour that get away with it. I don't like comparing average golfers to tour players because they are, freaks of nature. They can get into weird positions that most of us cannot. They've been playing since they were children, and they've probably been working out specifically for that. So let's just go back to our positions here. As you take that club back, slight bit of disconnection. That right hip in this motion here, you can see that right hip bows over, and all of a sudden you have kind of like a C looking position where your upper body's bowing this way. You can develop a lot of power like this, and you can develop a lot of power into the golf ball, but the consistency of power becomes an issue because now that club face is pretty shut at the top of the swing, and all you have with the shut club face and the motion behind you is to just lean into it, tilt under, and hold on for dear life, and hope you don't have any sort of release, or else that ball's going to go. So reverse, you have a C position here. As you come down into it, you're kind of leading with this knee, and that left shoulder is almost tied with the hip, so there's no drive. You're tilting. Your left hip is actually lower than your right hip, and that's causing the upper body to kind of get a little bit tilting. So your last ditch effort is from here is to just try and do your best to straighten that out, but here it's still tilted down. You try and straighten out the very end, which is okay, but even here they're pretty straight, so you'd want to try and get a little bit more tilt the other way, so that that happens when you bump the left hip, your left hip, into the target first to kind of realign your upper body. So if I bump my left hip, my upper body just falls, it counteracts that, and then from there I can turn and drive up, which is what you want to try and do. So here, you're almost turning and driving down, which is why you hit the ball on the downswing, and you can just see that angle as you're coming down into it, as you strike that golf ball. And that club face is going down into that golf ball. So I love this position if you can just tilt a little bit more under by getting that left hip to bump into that line quicker, and that'll allow you to now be swinging a little bit more up, maybe even level it out. Even if it's -1 or -2 degrees, it's probably better than -4 or 5. So if you can just kind of do it the other way and start flattening that out, that should help you out. But keep in mind that you have to bump it and get that left shoulder, your right shoulder under more, because of that forward press that you do at the start and your strong grip. So a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of stuff to work on from this point of view, but you do have the ability, you do have the athletic motion. So let's take a look at the down the line. All right, Jaron, so down the line here, let's take a look and see if we see the same sort of things. Yeah, I see the same thing. It's just a lot of turn, a lot of upright motion, kind of going the wrong way. Your starting position, your shoulders look a little bit open to the target. So, that could be an issue too. So maybe just pull that, especially with a driver, maybe pull that right shoulder back and tilt it more to kind of get you swinging up instead of swinging down like an iron. And as you see, this takeaway here already kind of slightly disconnected. Club face is closed, top position, it's closed. And then your arms kind of disconnect and go on their own. And from here, you try to drop it in. You do a good job at dropping it in. But at this point, that club face is closed and you got nothing left. All you got to do is just kind of do what you can to catch up on the tilt and hold off that release. And you do a pretty good job there. And so you're capable of doing it. Now the problem is can you do this over and over and over again and repetitively? Yes, you can, but it requires you to hit many golf balls. You take a look at Vijay Singh. His right hand came off the golf club at past impact. In order for him to be the number one in the world, why do you think he had to go to the range from sun up to sundown and hit thousands of balls a day to keep that timing for that elite level? So it just rewards those that want to put the work in. You can swing any way you want. You need a lot of timing. To get timing, you need to hit a lot of golf balls. So if you don't have the life that can support that, if you have a family, if you have a job, it's not going to happen. So you have to kind of eliminate a couple of these things to help it be a little bit more back and through. So hopefully that helps you. There's no reason to draw any lines because I see it already. It's the same problem. Check that alignment. Make sure that your right shoulder is kind of pointed back. Try not to forward press as much. And then also just work on tilting and bumping that hip at impact. And then go ahead and just swing hard, because I know you like to swing hard. So hope that helps you. And we're going to take a guess. I'm going to throw this out there. Let's go over to Europe. And I'm going to just say Italy. I don't know why. So random. But I'll just throw it out there. Let me know. Okay, last up we have Ryan. So Ryan, 17 and hit blocks and hooks. All right, the old block and hook. So this is a double screen. So what we're going to do, just to not confuse everybody, I'll move my face right over there. We'll just look at down the line first. Okay, a little bit flattening out and really realigning yourself. Okay, so this is, visually you can definitely see some issues going on with that plane. So you look at the motion of the club. I mean, the club goes very flat, shut club face, gets to the top, crosses the line, and now you kind of reroute yourself. Now that club's coming. Now it's, getting to some sort of plane, but it's very steep, very shallow with that plane. I can see why you have a lot of consistency issues. So, a lot of this is caused by your body. You can see how much your body's rocking around and just moving all over the place. Now, again, you can hit the ball from anywhere, but can you do it consistently? So I would imagine it's pretty hard for you to do it any sort of consistency. So if we take a look at your planes already, your setup looks a little bit like your feet are too much under you. So if I draw your foot straight up, you can see your foot are almost supporting your chest. They should be supporting your hips. So definitely pull those feet back, get more upright and with your lower body, and then kind of just lean forward. So you feel like most of the weight's kind of up in this area of your feet. That should definitely help you with some stability issues. Now, in terms of your motion, I'm going to put a couple lines here as well to help you out. So your motions, back brace line and then a head line. We'll just see how much you move out of this initial posture. So as you take that club back, okay, you can see your left shoulder's really coming up. You pulled out of yourself. Now you have a very flat shoulders. You stood up. So I would imagine maybe you started working on turning and feeling like your left shoulder's turning around. The problem is you start doing that, and then all of a sudden you're so focused on turning, your body gets locked up at some point. And the only way to get unlocked is to stand up and be more natural so you can turn more. And as a result, your head comes off of your initial position. Your shoulders are very flat. They should be 90 degrees to that. So they've already kind of risen, 25 degrees. So they've risen 20 degrees, 25 degrees. Now guess what they have to do? If you take a swing from there, you're going to miss the ball completely because your whole body's come up. Remember, that golf ball is only 1.25 inches diameter. So if you move 1.5 inches, you've got to do some making up to do. So you've risen a lot. Your shoulders have flattened out 20 degrees. So I'm guessing all you have left is to go down. So now we go back down. And did you go down too much? Looks like it a little bit. You went down too much. Now you get your club in the plane, but the problem is that club is pointing way above your golf ball. So if you continue along that plane, you're going to miss the ball completely. So let's see what you figure out how to do it. So you kind of pull your hands back inside to get to that golf ball, and as a result you have a path issue. Now your path is probably always left of your target, and when you have a left path, that only accentuates your club face misses, depending on which one overrides what. But post impact, as you hit the golf ball, look at that, you're kind of back where you started. So you have it in you. You find a way to get it done. Now it'll be curious to see how long you played this game, because if you played this game in this way for, let's say, 25 years, I'd hate to break this to you, but it's probably not going to get much better. Unless you're willing to put some serious time in and get some lessons. I think you're at Golf Tech. I recognize those push buttons there. And if that's the case, I'm assuming you're getting lessons at Golf Tech, so hopefully that can kind of address these things too. If you're not getting lessons at Golf Tech, go get lessons somebody. You definitely need somebody to take care of this, because this is a alignment issue, a posture issue, and then you just kind of rock around your posture. So let's take a look at the front, and it's going to be easy for us to switch. Look at this. Bam, presto magic. Now we're on the front view. So let's take a look at the ball position. Here we go again. This is my pet peeve. So we can't see where the ball is, but obviously it's part about here. So you see you've already connected to your left side. Now when you connect to your left side, basically on this setup, your ball should be out in front of your foot. So you can see what's going to cause this. Now you've got a couple things going on here. While you're truly trying to turn around your spine, and your spine is your best friend here, you're trying to maintain your posture, you're trying to maintain your positions. If your hands are connected to your spine but that ball position's off, now you're already starting out the game with 10 inches, 11 inches, maybe a foot, I don't know what that is, of misalignment where the ball position should be connected to your power source. So we'll keep those lines up because that makes a big difference too, and I'll show you. Lower brace line, we'll keep a little head brace line here on both sides, and then an impact line, we'll just draw it from your foot down so we don't get too many lines up here. And let's keep going and see what we have. So rocking it back. Now that rocking it back, could be you're trying to get that ball position to where it should have been, which is about here. So that's where you should start with your posture. Then you don't have to really rock back. Now that rocking back is causing momentum. So you can't just rock and then stop. Typically we rock and turn. So now that momentum's taking you up and away, really flat because you've stood up. Now when you stand up, your plane gets very flat. When you stay down, your plane gets very steep. So people with very steep issues here, they probably have a lot of tilt. They're going down. When they start flattening out their plane, they probably keep that thing very flat. So as you come back down into it, now all of a sudden you have to go back down. So you're trying to get to the position again. So there's your position, pretty good. But guess what? Momentum's taking you that way too now, and now you're ahead of that golf ball. And now because your hands were connected to your lead shoulder instead of your chest, you're gonna have to delay that release and hold off that tilt. And you can see that tilt underneath, severe tilt, and you're really tilting through and holding off that release. So I see this a lot when you get that forward press. There's only two options. You have to increase the tilt and delay the release, or just power through with your body and increase the turn. So, a lot of basics are not being covered, and you can see a lot of turn here. So it's just too much turn. It's turning too much on the way back, pulling out your posture, turning away through, maybe because to hold off that release, so you can't really release the club because that ball position is not connected to your spine. I know that's a lot I just said, so I have to rewatch this to see if that even makes sense, but hopefully it did. When you are working on your motions, and this goes for everybody, not just the people on video, including myself, don't look at impact, because impact is a result of things that occurred in your motion. Impact is the final stage of when you make contact. Now, what led you up to impact is positions. Now, if your positions are off, that's going to affect momentum. That's going to affect rotation, tilting. If your ball position's off, you're going to have to manufacture a way to get to that ball position. So there's many things that can go wrong to get to impact. But impact is usually saved by itself. So it's just a self-correcting motion. So if you're working on impact, if you're working on lag, if you're working on following through, don't bother. Check your grip alignment, set up posture, start from the beginning, work your way back. So that's my best advice for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do like it, hit that thumbs up again and the and the subscribe button. It really helps promote the channel. And if you're already a follower, thank you very much. And we'll get more of these videos out for you and get caught up. We're almost caught up to where we should be, and I appreciate your support. Thanks again, and fair isn't green.